Ex-cons of Reddit. What was the hardest prison habit to break after being released? I spent 72 months in prison for a tragic car accident that I had caused. After I was released, I kept telling my wife exactly what I was doing without her asking. She thought it was funny at first, but after a few weeks of it she was starting to get bothered. Not an ex-con but good friend's uncle did 20 years or so. His habit was how he ate. Everything on the 8 got immediately cut, mixed and devoured fast as hell. Don't know why. He always said it's how you did it there. You ate and GTFO as quick as you could. Constantly looking over my shoulder. By far the hardest conditioning to break, which I haven't and doubt I ever will, is the constant pessimism and cautious optimism. You see, when you're waiting to work your way through court, get a deal, and get sentenced, you will have your dates changed 50 times, hope for certain things only to be disappointed, and anytime you are told something hopeful it doesn't work out. As a result, I never get excited for something until it actually happens. When my wife told me we were pregnant, I already knew from her symptoms that she was, but still, you never know for sure till you take the test. I was obviously happy, but because I'm always cautiously optimistic and rarely show emotion, I couldn't feel comfortable or excited until I knew that my developing daughter was healthy. Even then, it didn't really hit me till she was born. You can apply this to anything, especially big events. Getting engaged, planning the wedding, buying a house, anything. I still hear from my wife how I wasn't crazy surprised or excited to be having a kid. I actually was the half of the relationship who was dead set on a kid when my wife supposedly could have gone either way. You just can't get your hopes up or look forward to anything until it is here or has happened. I've been home over 7 years now and with my wife for 6.5. She's truly the catalyst that motivated me to truly change my life and to not give any more of my life to the system. But you'll never know how happy she makes me because she misinterprets my cautious optimism, realism for pessimism or indifference. The hardest thing has been to talk without using the words fuck, fucking or asshole in every sentence. I had to completely change my sense of time. I agree with all the people who said they ate super fast, but then we would slow walk back from the chow hall any excuse for a few minutes more outside. I made sure I never consolidated enjoyable things. If I had a snack I ate it and concentrated on it. If there was something good on TV, I watched it. Now, I'll snack while I watch a movie because there aren't enough hours in the day, but on the inside I was trying to make hours and days go away. I've got a good job now, and nice respectable friends, but I still react to confrontational situations more quickly, decisively and efficiently than they do. I'm able to pull back at the last minute, but it's pretty clear that violence is not a tool in their arsenal. Taking a shit with my underwear up to my thighs to hide my junk. It took a long time to go back to pants around the ankles. Being paranoid, always looks over my shoulder and never letting anyone stand behind me. Even people passing on the side of me, I'm always turning my head to see what they're doing. Food, I could be the last one to eat, first one done, and I still stand when I eat around people. Realizing I could just get up and go somewhere, that I could make plans tomorrow from 1,000 different choices. Hard to break the habit of checking everyone who enters your vicinity. It feels like you've got to mark everyone off as a non-threat. Edit. I don't care if you do that and you've never been to prison. Hardest habit? Talking shit to dumb-souled men who think they're right cause they're old. Easiest habit? I'm never eating top ramen or getting a bowl cut from a Mexican barber again. Dude I work with said for the first little bit after getting out he would take a leg out of his pants when he'd shit. Not sure how common that was. Dude's a fighter though, so maybe that had something to do with it. One of my foster sons came to us from juvie. Every meal his arm was around his plate and he woofed down his food. My mastiff couldn't keep up. He always ate back to the wall hunched. Took my wife and I a month to show him no one would take his food and we had plenty more. Funny part is he went in the Marines and did 8 years, got out honorable and is now working in corrections. I find myself hoarding toilet paper under my bed. Sometimes I do it without thinking and I'll look under there and have 10 rolls of TP. Hoard feminine hygiene products. We were super limited on the number of pads or tampons they gave us. They didn't give any to the women in holding cells. There was dried and fresh menstrual blood on the floor and concrete benches, and a drain in the middle of the rooms like they intended to hose down the room. But if they did, it was not often enough. A couple guys I know, after being out for 5-10 years, wrap their arms around their plates and shovel food in their mouths at the speed of light. They are also super defensive of their food. When I first got to know them, I jokingly swiped a chip off one of their plates and he flipped his fork up and demanded I give it back. Freaked me out a lil. Doing laps. In prison, every time you get time on the yard, you do laps. Seriously, almost every single person does it too. When you get out, it's hard to break that habit. My friend once told me he got hooked on watching news channels and crappy daytime television. He said he also enjoyed listening to AM radio now, even though he knows specific podcasts exist that are more tailored to him. He killed himself 3 years ago after getting a 20-year sentence just 1 year after getting out. Edit. A lot of people asking questions, so I'll just go ahead and clarify here. At 18 he served a little over a year in prison for moving marijuana, got out, violated parole and got caught moving mass amounts of marijuana and other things like breaking into homes, petty theft, which was going to send him back for at least 15 years. After the jig was up, he had a while where he was allowed to stay at home, where he shot himself with a 9mm pistol in the head. He survived the initial shot but later died 2 days after going to the hospital. Was a great friend and knew him since elementary school. Top of our graduating class in high school. Just too much exposure to the wrong people. My uncle was in prison for a while and we've talked a bit about his experience and how it affected him. He has a hard time not being violent. You'd never guess since he mainly just sits in a corner and smokes, but he's been out for nearly 10 years and still always struggles with using his words. The guy cannot stand authority. He tells me that it's hard to listen to bosses when you know you're probably smarter and tougher than them. He knows most people feel this way, but he just can't ignore it. He's taken up professional carving so he can be his boss. He's really in touch with our native roots now, on account of joining a First Nations gang in prison. Doesn't talk much. I don't know if that's because of prison, but he really only speaks if he wants to. Not the type of guy who likes to talk just to talk. Doesn't have a lot. He has some sort of abandonment issue or something, so he doesn't want a lot of things to miss if he goes back to prison. For all the time he doesn't spend with people, he's out with nature or doing something in the wilderness. I think it helps keep him calm and feel connected. Nice enough guy, but prison kind of fucked him up, I think, and he's going to live his life being slightly disconnected with people. I was only locked up for 4 months in total. All things considered, I got off easy. Hardest habit to break was just doing something without telling someone else. Hard to remember that there's no authority figure once you're out. Not an ex-con, but my stepdad has been in and out of prison for the majority of his life. He always said that whenever he gets out of prison, you're so used to it being loud all the time that when he got home he couldn't sleep because it was so quiet. A somewhat friend of mine did a few years, and the one habit he couldn't shake was distrusting people. He said that people in prison are never nice. If they're nice, it's because of a hidden motive. Up to this day he still doesn't trust people who act nice, generous, helpful towards him. Sure seems like ex-military and ex-cons share a lot of habits. Not sure what to make of that. Sounds like there's a major epidemic of ex-prisoners with PTSD that society doesn't talk about. I didn't use a fork for a few weeks. Ate everything with a spoon without thinking. It's not the most interesting thing, but I hadn't noticed it posted here. I don't smoke. but every time someone offered me a cig I would pocket it on the inside. That's a buttering chip. Took me about a month or two to break. Taking as long as you want in the shower. For the longest time after I got out, I took less than 5-minute showers. Making prison commissary only food. Everyone around me thinks it is gross as hell to throw summer sausages, pickles, cheese, Doritos, Cheetos, and such into my ramen noodles, but good lord, I can't stop, and I have been out for 5 years. My ex would sleep a certain way all the time. To me it seemed like he was sleeping as if he was in a coffin, his arms crossed and wouldn't move the entire night for a couple months. He eventually broke that habit. Edit, a word. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.